Okay, let's begin, okay? So, boys and girls, today we'll be looking at show versus telling. That's actually a composition technique, right? So when we always say show, not tell, we basically mean don't just give me a short sentence, describe it in more detail. That's show, not tell. Okay, but I'll give you a few more better tips because all teachers can tell you that, but just exactly how are you supposed to go about doing it? I'll teach you a specific strategy later for show, not tell, instead of the usual, teachers keep telling you, oh, write in more detail, write in more detail. Like, what do they mean, more detail? How do I write in more detail, right? I'll cover it later, don't you worry, okay? So that's the main thing we're covering today, composition writing. And then, okay, we are also looking at some vocabulary close MCQs, and we're looking at some open-ended comprehension questions as well. All right, let's begin. Let's get down to business. So first is vocabulary close MCQ. Let's go. So vocabulary close MCQ is all about finding the correct question in the MCQ to replace the word. And keep in mind that when they give you the choices, right, in the MCQ, normally for all the 4 words, their meanings are all very close to the word that is underlined in your passage. And that's why this part is so difficult. If you thought it was easy, nah, it's never easy. Okay, so the whole idea is for you to pick the word that is the closest in meaning to how the author is using it in the passage. Yeah. So for example, okay, the word let. Let could mean different things. If I said let go, it could mean to not hold on to so much worries. Let go of your worries, right? Just like that Frozen song. Let it go, right? But if I use the word let, I could also mean giving permission. So someone could say, Josiah let me pet his pet chicken, perhaps, right? Or he allowed me to pet his pet chicken. Okay, so the word let could have many meanings. I could potentially also use the word let to say, to allow something to flow out, perhaps. I could say something like, hey, you should let the water out, right? You should let the water flow out so we can refill the swimming pool again with cleaner water, right? So it's how I use the word let, and you have to pick the correct form of it. So let's say I'm the author. I'm writing a story, okay? And I'm writing a story about a teacher, all right, giving a lesson. And then that teacher lets a student come up to the front and write an answer on the whiteboard. So I will give you a few options, but you know that the best option here would be the word allowed, because I allowed the student to come up to the whiteboard to answer. Versus if I gave you other options, like for example, I could say let could mean to release, or let could mean to perhaps what was the other meaning that I mentioned just now? To maybe relax, perhaps, like let go of your worries, right? Relax yourself. Or let could actually mean I don't know, something else. Okay, but you have to pick the meaning that's the closest to the way I use it in the story. And I use the word let in the story to show that I allowed the student to do something. So you have to pick the word allowed. Okay, so that's the whole trick to vocabulary MCQ. It's not about how well you know the words. It's about how well you know the story and how that word is used in the story. Okay, so you got to be extra careful for this. So first one, the remote village of Omyakon sounds to be like, oh my God. When I read this, I was like, oh, this village is so remote. People actually, when they reach there, they say, oh my God. It's actually on Oymyakon in eastern Siberia. All right. So when they use the word remote over here, they mean that it's very difficult to reach, right? You have to travel a long distance. It's not easily accessible. All right. You can't just take a plane and land, then that's your area, that kind of thing, right? It's a place that's very far, it's very distant. So the correct answer for this, boys and girls, is actually far-flung. Okay, far-flung meaning far away. It can also mean slightly inaccessible. Okay, that's far-flung for you. So it means remote over here, it means very far away. We can't use deserted. Why? Because we say it's a village. And in a village, there must be people living in it, right? So even if the village is very far away, it doesn't mean that it's deserted. Deserted means what? It's empty. Empty of people. People normally desert a place if that place has become dangerous or it's no longer suitable. All right, then we say that place is deserted, right? People have left it. Maybe they've discovered that they built their houses on a mine, maybe that a very old mine in the past, and there are explosive materials in the mine. So people will desert that town, right, for fear of their lives, because at any point in time while they're sleeping, they could blow up, like literally they could fly into the air and die. So they left the place, it's now deserted. All right, so it's a very different kind of word. And of course, nearby is the exact opposite. All right, it's the exact opposite of far-flung. Nearby means, you know, it's reachable. Okay, so that's definitely wrong. And same thing. All right, abandoned has the same meaning. Okay, as empty of people, but it basically means people left the area. So people must abandon an area first, right? After people has abandoned the area and the area is now empty, then the area becomes deserted. So it's linked, these two words, right? They must have the verb of abandoning it first, then it becomes deserted. All right. And guess what? The example I gave you, right, is actually true. What's a village called when it has no villagers or people? If currently there's no one there, you can say it's a deserted village. Technically, you can call it an abandoned village as well. But the thing is, sometimes you're not sure how long ago that was. But if you see signs of human life, you can actually say abandoned as well. Like people were probably living here at one point in time, but they abandoned the place, they left it. And the example I gave you just now, right, it's actually true. There's actually a town in USA that where the houses, right, are literally like blowing up. Like there's like a large underground explosion, like boom, right? And then the house was like, Blah! And the whole family just died. I think only one child survived. Because the whole town was literally built on a mine. And that mine had explosive materials in it. They didn't seal the mine up properly. They didn't warn people that they were building their houses on top of the mining tunnels that they had dug previously, long time ago. All right, very, very sad. Anyway, moving on. Question 2. All right, the remote village of Oymyakon in eastern Siberia is closer to the Arctic Circle than it is to the nearest city. Wow, that is how isolated that place is. Okay, just for a little bit of geography going on over here, I like to intersperse my lessons with a little bit of extra knowledge, a bit of geography here, a bit of science here and there, right? So let me just show you where Oymyakon is. All right, so Oymyakon is in Siberia, Sakha Republic, Russia. This is Oymyakon. All right, it's so inaccessible. There's only like a small path that leads up to it. Okay, that's the town of Oymyakon, and it's actually closer to the Arctic Circle at the top than it is to the closest city. That's how isolated the whole town is. All right, so the Arctic Circle is basically the top of the globe. All right, and you see the further north you go, the more icy stuff becomes, right? Look at all the white parts there. Those are all white ice-covered land, not suitable for human life. So the Arctic Circle is also known as the North Pole, all right? And the Antarctic or Antarctica is also known as the South Pole. All right, so one's the South Pole, one's the North Pole. And Oymyakon is actually closer to the North Pole if you travel all the way up than to the nearest city, actually. Yes, Tristan 2.0.
If you say like there's like no live in like the North Pole, then where does Santa Claus live?
Santa Claus isn't real, unfortunately. Okay, so he doesn't live anywhere. Santa Claus actually originates from a saint in the Catholic faith. His name was Nicholas. So Saint Nicholas, right? He's the patron saint of children, I believe, or something along those lines. And he used to appear in his bishop red regalia, and that's where Santa Claus got the red outfit from. But then people took that idea and made the character of Santa Claus so that people would spend more money during Christmas, because all the shops wanted to sell a lot of stuff so that they could earn more money. So Santa Claus is one of the best selling gimmicks that anyone ever created, and it forced a lot of people all over the world to buy lots of toys for their kids all the time.
Yeah, but I thought, right, Santa Claus was like from this Coca-Cola advertising a Coke
Yes,
Santa thingy then.
that's right. It originated from the Coke advertisement, right? And Coke wanted to promote more Coca-Cola so that you would drink it with this jolly old man during Christmas. And then that fad caught on, and all the companies started to use Santa Claus as well to sell their stuff. All right, and then people became very, huge spenders of money during Christmas, because they always say it's the season of giving, right? And so eventually it became like a thing, right? It's used to basically like make people buy lots of stuff. Okay, so yeah, so it is closer to the Arctic Circle than to the nearest city, I guess, but it looks like Oymyakon could actually be closer to some cities in China than the Arctic Circle, though. Anyway, so when we say closer over here, we actually mean nearer. So the answer here is nearer, right? It's actually nearer to the Arctic Circle than to the nearest city. Okay, it's not related in any way. Related means there's some kind of relationship, there's some kind of similarity, right? But that's not the case over here, so that's wrong. It's the opposite of further, right? So closer is the opposite of further, that can't be right. And akin over here, akin means alike. Alike to something, you're akin to something. Okay, so for example, I could say, akin is normally used to express metaphors. So I could say, not allowing me to eat my favorite chicken rice is akin to killing me. I would rather die, that kind of thing, right? Akin means like just like that. Okay, so that's what akin means. It's normally used for metaphorical expression. Okay, next, a monument in the town square commemorates the day in 1924 when the temperature fell to a record 96 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. My goodness. So fell over here means it drops. Now, aren't you curious? That's actually one of the lowest temperatures recorded, right, in any town in the world. Aren't you curious how many degrees Celsius that is? So let's see. Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion. I like to use Google for this, yeah? Fahrenheit to, so the Americans use Fahrenheit, but in Singapore, we use degrees Celsius. So 32 degrees Fahrenheit is actually 0 degrees Celsius in Singapore. That's your freezing point, right? When water starts to turn into ice. If we go negative 96, that's actually negative 70 degrees Celsius. All right, in the town of Oymyakon in eastern Siberia. Negative 70, can you believe it? Even some metals, right, would crack in this kind of temperature. I'm not even sure how they actually built their houses, because under such circumstances, right, it's really, really hard to act out a living, right? It's negative 70 degrees Celsius there. My goodness, that's even colder than you standing in the middle of a freezer, a large-scale industrial freezer.
So then what? It's like the Eskimos, they live in the ice block.
They don't live in the ice block. They actually build some ice blocks around them to stop the wind from taking away more of the temperature. So dropped to a record 96 degrees below Fahrenheit. So the answer here is C, right? Dropped to that temperature. So answer here is C. Slipped, we normally don't say, I mean, fell and slipped, they have like the same meaning, right? But is it used the same way as